Good afternoon, David.
Good afternoon, David.
Just get
We'll say that as if we haven't been talking to each other beforehand.
to the point. To the point. Right, well, we're not up yet on Facebook, so there's a bit of a drag, so we'll need to give you a second.
Hands up, everybody that stayed up all night to watch the American election. Not me. I went to bed. I knew that by the chit chat that Trump was going to get it. Seriously.
Aye, but we'll get to Trump, David. He takes up the whole second half of the programme.
Yeah.
Right, folks, there will be an after-show chat tonight at 10 o'clock. Because I'll be in the house, but then I'll be finished work. And Huey will sort out the link, post the programme. What else is there? Oh, Buster's pepped up a bit, folks.
Aye.
A wee bit of good news. Afternoon, Reagan a Week, folks. Remember, tune into Reagan a Week's channel. Give him a hit the like button and the subscribe button on his channel. And that reminds us, hit the like button and the subscribe button on this channel. Welcome aboard Facebook. Where we about to go yet? Anyway, how are you?
I'm fine. I'm all right.
How's the progress with mobility?
What I'm doing today is I'm on two walking sticks because I felt uncertain. I felt uneven. The one thing I don't want to do is I don't want to fall over.
Yep.
Because that would really kill my confidence, right?
Confidence, aye.
What I'm doing is I'm doing the two walking stick, and then for a short bit, what I'll do is I'll walk maybe in the toilet or whatever. I'll walk without anything to the sink or back somewhere I can grab something, and that's all right. That's okay. So I'm making progress.
Yeah, but you definitely don't want to fall because that appears to be what shattered Buster's confidence.
Yeah, I don't want to have my confidence killed like that. At the moment, my confidence is pretty high. They had me walking the other day there between the banisters.
Aye.
And there's a mirror at the end, the far end of it, right? And it was a fucking Charlie Chaplin walk. It really was. I went, how did I get rid of that? And Paddy,
David, it must have been frightening seeing this fucking ugly monster with a peg leg walk towards this.
Oh, aye. But
right, we're up to 100 marks, so we better get this programme on the way because we only have 6 subjects today, David, but the last one's a doozy.
Yeah.
Right, first up, big subject in Scotland this week after the budget for Rachel Reeves last week is, of course, taxation and economic growth. And this comes after the Finance Committee at Holyrood publishes a report saying there's no long-term strategy for taxation or for economic growth. Now, there
is no long-term. The longest term you can get is 5 years, something like that, unless, of course, a particular party know they're going to get voted in the next election. Then it becomes more long-term. But there's no long-term plans.
That's the interesting thing, David. There is never any long-term plans for government.
Yeah.
There's only short-term, meaning 5 years, or interim or immediate term when you think about it, because they get a chance of a second administration. Very rarely do you get a third administration the way the SNP have had. But so long-term planning and taxation and economic growth. Well, let's move on to the economic growth side of that.
No, just before you move on, right? We could have that subsequent to becoming an independent country if we actually put something into our Bill of Rights or whatever, right? That made sure that certain plans, certain aims, certain ambitions were actually covered long-term. Yeah?
I can't see that much sense in the Constitution, to be honest with you. But I would need to look at it. What I would say is, the reason why there is no long-term plan on taxation is because governments tend not to be around long-term. 5 to 10 years maximum.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing about long-term planning for economic growth, well, for a start, the economy, the conditions of the economy operate under are set out with Scotland, David, as we know, because the economy is reserved. So businesses in Scotland don't operate under Scottish business rules and regulations. They operate under UK-wide. And the things that affect Scottish businesses are under control here in Scotland, like corporation tax. The things we'll get to things that we do influence when it comes to the economy: corporation tax, immigration, border controls. They're the big ones when it comes to business. But of course, the things that we can do.
You think how well Scotland does, and how much better it would do if it didn't have that.
If we didn't have those particular constraints on our economy, because the UK economy isn't set up in Scotland, Wales, or Northern Ireland. It's set up in England. Don't know why, because England don't manufacture fuck all. You want something made, you can get it made here in Scotland. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at the same time, economic conditions are set out with Scotland. What we do control within Scotland are the things that the Scottish Government has invested in. And that is education, health, and infrastructure, especially in its more or less centralised industrial zone, the Central Belt, where the infrastructure is actually really quite good. It's a wee bit worse the further out you get for that Central Belt. But then again, our communities are quite diverse and well spread out. And once you move out the magnetic pole of Edinburgh and Glasgow, then things change quite significantly.
Well, that yet again is something we can actually deal with.
It is something the SNP have dealt with. That's why we get the Borders Railway opened up again, the Fife Railway opened up again. We'll get railways opening up everywhere, and of course, road construction has been basically concentrated in the Central Belt and the West.
Right. What about, as far as taxation is concerned, right?
Right.
Taxation coming directly to the Scottish Government, right?
Not only an income tax, mate.
We could have. We're talking about maybe renewable, creating a tax. Yeah. Money's coming from England to pay for electricity. The tax on that. We could have a sovereign wealth fund. Never mind oil. We could have a sovereign wealth fund, and we could actually make it whereby the Scottish Government are allowed to use, say, 10% each year of the interest off of that.
Aye, same way the Norwegians do, but
for areas outside of Glasgow and Edinburgh.
Well, you could have very low tax rates for these areas, but that's beside the point. That's all pie in the sky shit, because we don't control that stuff.
Yeah, well.
Right?
Always told you.
In the here and now, David, and just in the here and now, of course, the debate this week flows over into First Ministers.
Yeah.
And of course, there's a lot of horse trading, as you know, going on about the budget as well right now.
Yeah.
So, in First Ministers, we'll get Russell Finlay of the Conservatives laying out his points of view and where he would be willing to negotiate with the Scottish Government, but at what cost. Well, we'll get to Sarwar in a minute. So Russell Finlay, he's laying himself out to be the poster boy of the typical Tories. Small state, small taxation. Right? But on the other side of that debate is Sarwar and the arrogance of that pig-headed shithead. He's telling the SNP, we, the Labour Party, have given you this money. And if you want your budget passed, I'll be telling you how you're going to spend it. That is Sarwar and the Labour Party stance. Yeah. Apparently, they gave the Scottish Government more money. No, they fucking didn't they? They plan to spend more in England, so the Barnett consequential brings more money to Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland. And we don't always get a true reflection in those consequentials. They always find a way to wriggle around it.
That's right.
But that's beside the point. Sarwar hasn't provided nothing for Scotland, and neither has that fucking treasury down that road. no matter what way you spin this, it's still a percentage of what we send in that road back to run my country.
Yeah.
And they gave us nothing. It's our money.
Yeah.
What they did was set up a set of fucking rules which allowed them to help themselves to anything up to 60% of our money without giving us a fucking back. Because that's what it is in the Barnett formula.
Well, all I can say from about Anasawa is see you next Tuesday. Right? That's it. You know, as far as I'm concerned, he's mouthing off. He's just mouthing off.
No, yes. No, wait, hold on a minute. What would Starmer try to tell Swinney where to spend the money? What would the Governor General try to tell him how he's going to spend the money?
Yeah.
And now we'll get Anna Starmer saying, you want your budget passed? I'll tell you how to spend the money.
Yeah.
Fucking mental.
Anyway, right.
So, the horse wrangling of the budget is actually going on live, folks. You can watch it. You can pick up the nuances for what these people are saying in debates and in First Ministers, like I have today. I do listen to First Minister. I don't generally talk about it because it's become, for so long, it's become like the Punch and Judy show, which is Prime Minister's questions down that road, which can be bad enough because her first crack at the day, and to be fair, David, she was crap.
Yeah.
You know?
All right.
And don't you fucking start, either Alistair Kerr, fucking independence, fucking crap. I agree with you 100%. But until it's back in the agenda, I want to deal with political realities.
Right.
So
do you realise that if we were able to speak to the whole of Scotland at one go, we could have independence back in the books.
What have I told you about fucking segues and civility and stupidness? Come on. Back on track.
I like segues. Segues are really good. You hang on to the handle and it's like it stays upright. It's amazing.
I wonder how that worked with fucking crutches. Anyway, let's move on. This one seems to have caused this douchey, and I have no idea why. Which will bring us to Eddie's remarks about leaving the SNP while spineless John Swinney's in charge. That's not how we change a party, mate. How we change a party, and there isn't any way to explain this otherwise, is to stay in the party and apply pressure from within as you become more involved in the party.
If you'll notice, each week I've found something to attack John Swinney on, right?
Yep.
Even so, I and my wife are both still members of the Scottish National Party.
The only way to change an organisation is from within.
Yeah.
Now, the difference between the UK Union and the European Union was, if we stayed in the European Union, we could have changed it from within. The UK Union can't be changed from within. England just doesn't want to give up that power. Sorry, no England. Let me get this straight. It's no England, it's Westminster.
Yeah.
I've said this before, the state has become an entity on its own. And the two seats of the one Arston there are there to protect that state.
Yeah.
That entity. It's not there to provide for the people or anything like that anymore. It's to protect that entity and its power, privilege, and patronage. Yeah. All right. Anyway, let's get to it. Stushy, our John Swinney, congratulating President Trump on his victory. Right. Now, why would there be a Stushy there, then?
There shouldn't be any.
This is just diplomacy.
It's like when Nicola Sturgeon, when she was the First Minister, and she was congratulating maybe somebody down in Westminster or something like that for something, right? And she took a lot of stick over that. It is a diplomatic imperative that no matter what, you always, those countries that you recognise, if they vote in somebody as president or prime minister or whatever, you give them congratulations. You basically give them congratulations. That is the beginning of an ambassadorial situation, right? So it might be that Trump comes to Scotland at some point. It's better to have him on good terms.
Well, when content dressed to impress, Our opinions are as old as we are. Maybe that's because it's based on long-term views of things that we've witnessed through the years in politics. And but I'm sorry you don't like our point of view on the world. We'll miss you, bye. That was our next comment, bye. Right, anyway, so it's just a diplomatic exercise. And actually, you didn't have to say bugger all. Neither the First Minister of Wales or of Northern Ireland, because, let's face it, international relations are dealt with by Westminster.
Yeah. But
we still there is a political motive. On John. And that is inward investment in Scotland. And we've had the BBC actually try and egg the Scottish Government on since Trump yesterday, since Trump won the election or was declared win the election yesterday. And that is, according to the BBC, Trump has a couple of really successful businesses in Scotland and has an affinity for Scotland because his mother is from Scotland. Right, what a bollocks.
Isle of Lewis.
Well, them are. Apparently, so the BBC want the Scottish Government to foster good relations. Why would that be? Well, because you're not going to have good relations with Westminster. You know? So they're hoping that the Scottish Government can foster good relations with them and sort of, you know, and around about why deal with Westminster. You know, so there is a political motivation behind it. So yesterday, after it was announced about mid-morning that he got the 276 seats that he needed to be president, then we had the BBC Scotland at lunchtime telling us what a great affinity he has with Scotland and that the Scottish Government should foster that affinity in order to bring inward investment in Scotland. Well, he's not investing anywhere else in these islands because he's already made it clear that Labour, he don't like them. He thinks they're far left socialists.
Yeah.
Oh. And he certainly doesn't like Starmer. But the Trump win does also give us another problem that we can talk about in this segment, and we can talk about it again in a later segment, and that is the fact that Keir Starmer signed a pact recently with Biden tying the UK to its diplomatic and military strategies. In other words, it's foreign policy and its military strategy, the American one. Now, we did have an agreement on military strategy, which was up for renewal every 10 years. This isn't up for renewal anymore, folks. And it was not even negotiated in that parliament. The UK is now officially America's bitch.
Well, that was, I think the first time we saw that was Tony Blair.
Aye, but as I say, what Starmer done, we think Kamala Harris was going to win. It's tied us to whatever this nutter does.
Yeah.
Hey, but as for this Stushy, let's get back on track here before we move on, David. As for this Stushy own, John Swinney congratulating President Trump on winning the election victory in America. It's expected. We expect our government to participate in the world stage. John didn't have to, he could have kept his mouth shut. But it's just diplomatic, and I don't have a problem with John doing that, do you?
No, none whatsoever. I'll attack John. There's things that I can attack him on, but on that, I can't. Something like that.
Right. Another problem for the SNP, a minority administration, and that is this week, the legislation that they passed in order to set targets for climate change was kicked out of the Parliament. It was another bill was put in place to erase the annual targets on net zero, the interim targets on net zero of 2030 and 2040, but the target that remains apparently is to get to net zero by 2045. I can't see how that's going to happen without massive investment.
Yeah.
And the Scottish Government don't have the power to do that.
Well, it's down to money. Something like that. It's down to money.
Yep.
And if you put those targets in place, and we have got immense amounts of money to put in to actually reach those targets, what else are we going to lose? We could lose part of the NHS. We could lose all sorts.
Right, Austin Butler, John's congratulations is simply principle of respect for the judgment of the American people who elected the government of their country. That's about as precise as it can be.
Yeah. Thanks, Austin.
Thank you. Okay, but this is a problem. The Greens are throwing their dummy out the pram where they're scrapping these targets, which you expect the Greens. When it comes to getting this budget passed,
wow,
we need the Greens.
Yeah. Well, looking at it, I can see trouble ahead.
Maybe election, May, June next year.
Yeah.
Maybe. We'll see. It could well be that Labour helps them pass this budget because their prospects here in Scotland at the moment are not looking good. So I don't see them wanting an election very soon. They'll want a chance to build momentum again.
Yeah. Yes.
So there's a bit of an argument going on, folks, up here in Scotland with our climate targets. You know, the investment that would be needed would need to come from Westminster. And see, when we talk about these two lines going to the north of Scotland into England to transmit power from Scotland to England, the government's not building them. They're being built by the power companies, the people who own the grid in this case. Scottish Power and Scottish Southern Electric, which are owned out with Scotland, these companies now, but that's what they're called. And they're the ones that are making the investment.
Yeah.
I believe 12.7 billion for Scottish Southern electricity. I don't know what it is for Scottish Power. I haven't looked it up. But I know about the 12.9 billion because the CEO of SSE was on the radio telling us about it when the licence was granted to put this cable in. So there is problems here for the SNP.
Yeah.
Big problems for the SNP.
Problems for the SNP, but if handled in the right way, could actually be turned into opportunities.
Aye. Well, what we need to do is get the person who's doing the negotiation with the NHS, because they've settled, that's the next subject. That's NHS covered, no more disputes. Consultants say, well, there was no strike action here in Scotland anyway, but consultants have settled for 10.5%.
Yeah.
And the rest of the NHS staff settled for 5.5%, as you know, David.
Yeah, it's not 5.5 right across the way. I don't know if you know this, but in the NHS, there's different segments, increments as they go on.
Yep.
If they're at the top of their increment, they might get a lesser amount to help people that are in the lower levels.
And that's explained in the figures. Anyway, the package is 124.9 million a year.
Yeah.
And as you say, it's a progressive system. So the top grades will get an extra 10 grand a year, and the bottom grades will get an extra 13 grand a year. Yeah. And that basically covers the way that their wages have been squeezed for the last decade.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So they're basically back to being more or less on a level where they were probably in 2010.
Very well organised.
Yeah.
I have to congratulate the person who actually does all the number crunching to get that money in to the NHS.
Right.
Because anybody you talk to, there's no complaints anywhere. Oh, that's fine. Oh, great. Did well.
Right.
Yeah.
So the one thing we can see that this Scottish government or administration has been good at is industrial relations, especially look at England, with the last government especially.
Yeah.
We'll see how this particular government handles industrial relations going forward. But if we look at the new workers' rights bill that they're putting forward, there's nothing in it. It's fish and wind.
Yeah.
And that's the influence of big business in government. Starmer doesn't feel safe enough to be radical on anything, never mind workers' rights.
Yeah.
You know. Right, this is an interesting one, David. We don't normally cover these nonsense and fucking paedophiles and fuck knows what. But anyway, it would appear that the royal family have hit the headlines after a recent documentary called The King, the Prince and Their Secret Millions.
Yeah.
This was aired in Channel 4's Dispatches, and it's went down like a lead fucking balloon.
Yeah.
You know?
For goodness sake, it's like I know I'm only saying this on a program, just saying it. Let's get rid of it. Let's get rid of the monarchy. I don't feel any wish to harm a hair on any one of their heads. However, there's things that they have, like the Duchy of Lancaster, the Duchy of Cornwall. They could easily take that off of them, and
No, they can't. You would need an act of Parliament.
Yeah,
agreed by the Lords.
Yeah, and no, but I'm saying it's something that's done unilaterally throughout the United Kingdom, right?
And you've got to remember, David, is even if you take their titles away, they own those lands.
Give them a stipend for those lands to be used by the people.
Well, that's a political. That's
until the present batch die of natural causes, right? Some point in the future, at which case the lands will be taken in inheritance back into the country that it belongs to.
Well, as you know, David, you didn't know at the point that the Duchy of Lancaster was formed in 1333.
Yeah.
And the land is owned exclusively by the Crown. And the Duchy of Cornwall was formed in 1336.
Yeah, all right. I mean, what time is it now? It's 16:26 at the moment. You know, so
right.
I'm not interested.
So they're 2 years old.
I'm not interested. I'm really not interested.
I get
that. At the end of the day, they are people that have got too much money. They don't give us anything. They don't create anything. If anybody actually hits me with they bring in tourism, I go, fuck off. They don't. You get more in tourism in France off the Louis XIV palace than the whole of Britain. And he's been beheaded, right? So there you go. All right.
Hey, what have the royals been up to that have got people up in arms? We'll never mind some of the daft stuff like 11.4 million for a 15-year deal with the NHS they store ambulances on the land, or the fact that the Duchy of Cornwall rents Dartmoor to the military for exercises and to train the soldiers.
Yeah.
But I think the 2 things that stick in people's craws here is the skimming off of charities for being their patrons.
Yeah.
And the fact that Duchy of Cornwall is one of the biggest fucking slum landlords in the UK. Now, David, there was a story about this with the Crown Estates here in Scotland a few years back, was there not?
The Crown Estates, the water. We're talking about you're talking about the beach.
No, I'm talking about when it comes to being a slum landlord in the Balmoral estate.
Oh, yeah, a lot of money had to be put in to actually getting that up to a certain standard.
Right.
Yes. Okay.
Because they were being sued by the tenants. The Royal Queen was being sued by the tenants. I don't know if you know this, folks, but since 1997, you can sue the Crown.
Yeah.
So the tenants up there were suing the old jelly bean. So there was a big, vast renovation programme. And then, of course, we had the heated homes legislation passed in Scotland and all. These people still had bloody old ranges to cook on and things like that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, they were living in the dark ages, damp hussies.
Yeah.
But obviously that all had to be brought up with scratch. Well, apparently the eyes of the world, or the eyes of the UK, are now looking at the Duchy of Cornwall, because apparently he's a slum landlord.
Yeah.
Right, Melanie, you've got to go. That's all right. On your way back tomorrow morning, sit your ass in the naughty step. I'm not finished yet. And there's David. I'll light the candle just for you, Melanie. So you did burn your ass. Right, catch you later, Mel. Love you. Right, let's see. So, here, the things that really stuck out of that documentary in people's minds and what hit the press was the fact that the Prince of Wales is a slum landlord.
Yeah.
And that the royals themselves have been skimming off charities for
But this means that the previous Prince of Wales was a slum landlord as well. This isn't something that happened just over the last year.
No.
It's something that's been happening for many years.
Yep.
So,
John, thanks very much, mate. How are you and Edith? Video game controller throws a face down tantrum in between the words. Rage quits. Right, thanks, John. Thanks for your kind donation, dear boy. So, the thing about the NHS and Dartmoor, now Dartmoor, I don't understand that one. I don't know why they're renting it to the military. I mean, surely national security is in their interest as well.
As far as I'm concerned, it goes back too far, right? It goes right back to the fact of when the king owned other lands, and then he gave pockets of land to this one, that one, as being people that were sucking up to him. Something like that, right? So, as far as I'm concerned, that's it. We should actually bring the whole lot in and actually deal with them separately, and they should be given Balmoral. There you go. You live there. That's it.
And strip Bucky Palace and tell the homeless to pick it up. Why strip it? They need beds and all that shit.
Yeah.
Why strip it? Right. Let's move on, David. Bank of England stuns everybody by lowering interest rates today.
Aye, but they did say they were going to stay at 5%. Now, why? Why threaten that? Sorry, this is something I'll put up. If you figure it through, they were being literally rattled with chief economists all over the place to get it down to 4.5%. And the chap that's in charge of the Bank of England,
thanks, Alistair,
just for the moment, he threatened to keep it at 5% to shut them up. And what they've done is they've gone down to 4.75%.
Well, to be fair, inflationary pressures are going in the other direction at the moment, but it will be a relief for many people.
We know that they would give wonderful technical arguments as to why they've done such and such, right? But to be honest with you, it's a game of politics.
Well, to be fair, the people are not going to save that much. An average tracker mortgage to be £30 a month better.
Aye.
A wee bit better for a fixed rate mortgage.
Aye.
But for a tracker mortgage, it's £30 a month for the average tracker mortgage. I had a look. Right, the other one I want to talk about quickly here before we go on to the big orange baby is in the dock. Now, David, I know you weren't aware of this story, so I sprung it on you a bit as a surprise.
Aye.
The Treasury is being accused of breaking the law and not providing the OBR with all the statistics it needed to provide the incoming government with a proper reflection of where the UK's finances are at.
So, can I just correct you? They're being accused of breaking the law again.
Well, the accusation is that in making up the numbers for Jeremy Hunt's bottom statement, they didn't have all the information, and they still see it the 22 billion black hole, as you know. The OBR wants it to go all the figures, looked at it and said, yep, there's 9.2 billion of promised money which hasn't been costed into this bottom statement or into any budget. So the stew sheet is between the OBR and the Treasury, and it is because the Treasury by law has got to provide the OBR with the information it needs, the Office for Budget Responsibility, to be able to give the government accurate predictions or projections, no predictions, projections.
When did the OBR become the middleman?
When George Osborne created it and then passed a law to say that they were there to audit the government's finances.
Which is wrong. They should not have been the middleman. What you've done is you've put in place a middleman in between the civil service and the government.
Irishman, nice to see you there. I haven't spoken to you for a few days. Been working late. Right. So the Treasury's in the dock, basically. They're being accused of breaking the law. What the consequences for that would be? Anyway, the Treasury denies it. The Treasury said they got the information that the Treasury had at the time. But if the Treasury doesn't have this information, then who the fuck had it?
So, forgive me for asking this. What are they facing?
I don't know. I don't know what the consequences are.
Is somebody going to end up in prison over it, or is it going to be? Is it going to be fined something, because that's money out of our pockets?
To say, well, it's money that we're going to have to spend. It was the budgeted for. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And promises made, but it wasn't costed into the budget, the open statement.
Yeah, you've got to look at the Treasury and say, what about the profit and loss sheet for the UK government? Why is it that pensions are still shown as being a liability?
I have no idea, David.
Pensions are not a liability because they're paid for directly as the taxation comes in each week.
Which is also baffling.
That's the way it is now.
But it is baffling when the National Insurance Fund has got a £500 billion surplus.
Exactly. Correct. Absolutely. There's umpteen things that you could pull up here, right?
I didn't make that up. Just go and look. Search engine, National Insurance Fund surplus. It'll come up.
Yeah.
They're talking about trying to find 9.2 billion in the back of the sofa. They're allowed to take 10% of that surplus each year and put it into general spending anyway.
Right.
Sorry, they're allowed to take 10% of the interest on that surplus.
Yeah.
Spend it anyway. But, you see, you're saying, when it comes to taxation, why is the pensions being paid out of direct taxation? Fuck knows. What's that fund for?
Well,
why are the NHS any money?
Pensions are being paid for from taxation, whereas on the government's profit and loss sheet, it's down as a liability. You can't have both. You can't have both, right?
I'm not arguing that, David.
Right.
You know, but as I say, the Treasury's in the dock for misleading people. Well, it's always misleading people. Why does the National Insurance Fund have a £500 billion surplus when the NHS is fucking on its knees?
Right.
Why aren't pensions being paid out of today's taxation when there's a £500 billion surplus in the National Insurance Fund? These are all questions that have to be asked. But, as I say, the Treasury's in the dock, apparently for not giving the OBR the information that it's supposed to provide by law. What are the consequences for that? Absolutely no idea.
Yeah. To me, it all sounds a bit wrong.
Right, let's move on to Trump's re-election, its implications for the world, the UK, Europe, Ukraine, Gaza, NATO, and the BRICS.
If anybody out there hasn't heard, Mr. Trump won the presidential election in America, and being diplomatic, both David and I say, congratulations on winning. Now we're going to tell the people that are watching us basically what the implications are. What the implications are. Yeah.
So what are the implications for the world? Trade wars, tariffs, economic stifling of the world's economy, and rampant inflation as corporations are set free to gouge us with profiteering. So there will be economic chaos in the world under Trump. Now, how will it affect the UK? Well, he don't like the Labour Party. He does not like Starmer. There will be no trade deals, and there will be 20% tariffs slapped on fucking everything coming to the UK.
Yeah.
So the UK economy is about to contract again.
Yeah.
And as we know, John Swinney has voiced his worries for the Scottish whisky industry.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, we already have 75% of bottle. That's the UK government have done to us. Then on top of that, you're going to have the import duties for Scottish whisky.
Buying Scots, that's right.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing, the American people don't realise that when he starts these tariff wars and trade wars, the cost of what they get is going up.
Yeah.
So there'll be inflationary pressure in America because the import duties are paid by companies that are importing it into America to sell it on the American market. So there'll be price rises in the American market, and of course, that will have inflationary pressures, and inflation will go up.
Yeah.
Right. So the UK's economy will contract again. It's already flatlining. They're talking about growth, which is pathetic, and now we're going to have to put up with a trade war with America. Now, for Europe, it will be an all-out trade war and tariffs because Trump sees Europe as a market of similar size to the USA, and he sees Europe as a direct competitor the same way he sees China and India and Pakistan and Brazil and South American countries as direct competitors.
Yeah.
So there will be a trade war with Europe.
So who do you think? Who do you feel will on a trade war that we both reckon will happen between Europe and America? Who do you think will come out top?
Well, the European market's slightly bigger, but unfortunately, the members of Europe all trade in the international currency. And we'll get a wee bit more of that when we get another one of these subjects.
Yeah.
But which means that where it should have been a 50-50 battle, it's probably weighted slightly on the side of the Americans. But it will only be weighted slightly on the side of American corporations and no on the side of the American people who have a penchant for European goods.
Right.
So there will be inflationary pressures through that trade war with Europe as well and America. So now let's move on. Implications for Ukraine. Bye-bye, Ukraine.
Yeah.
Implications for Gaza.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Gaza is looking at it, it's already gone.
And it looks like southern Lebanon will be ceded to Israel as well. Looks like that canal's getting built, David.
Yeah.
But there's still an obstacle in the road of that. And that's Jordan. I wonder what the King of Jordan's thinking right now.
Jordan are very, very much tied up with the Americans.
Well, as I say, they might be going to give permission for it to go through their landing.
Yeah.
But that also signals the end of Gaza.
Yeah.
That also sees the end of southern Lebanon. You know, this is colonial expansion we're seeing here, and it's going to be fostered by Trump.
Yeah.
So I'm afraid the extermination of the people in Gaza, unless they flee now, is a definite. And as they can't get out of that fucking prison barrel they're living in, looks like they're all going to die.
Yeah.
I'm fucking shaking my rage here, David.
Yeah.
And of course, let's move on to the implications for NATO and the NATO pact. Trump will demand that the NATO countries meet their commitment of spending 2.8% GDP, but it won't spend any more on defence because Trump's about to fucking wreck everybody's GDP.
Well, if we discussed this previously, if your GDP is going down and down and down, then even if you did reach was it 3.5%?
No, 2.8%.
2.8%. Even if you did reach 2.8%, that number in terms of money is going to go
Real
down.
term tax is still going to be smaller, that's right.
Yeah.
And that's because Trump's about to unleash all holy hell on the planet. What is he going to? Will he pull out of NATO? He's threatened before. Depends on how much he wants to isolate America.
Yeah. And that's an interesting point of view.
You know.
If he wishes to isolate America, then all he needs to do is wait, because the petrodollar is going already down the tubes. So when the petrodollar is gone, that's America isolated.
Right. Now,
They do have a big war machine that they could go and invade people, right?
aye.
Suppose that's an option for them.
And Lorna Shield says Trump might break up NATO, but no, he could leave NATO. He couldn't break it up.
Yeah.
He could leave NATO, but that's a serious concern. Right, the BRICS, David. Now, as we know, the BRICS have expanded to 10 ratified members, and will expand to 34 ratified members next October. Yeah. Anyway, the other 24 members were in Moscow on Tuesday at the Kremlin to be told by the existing members. That includes the 6 originals, plus the 4 new countries that have joined. That was Iran, the Arab Emirates, Ethiopia.
Yeah.
What was the other one again?
Oh, hell.
So anyway, all 10 members were in Moscow on Tuesday, with the 2 dozen that are about to join taking it to a block of 34 in an economic trade pact. To their inaugural meeting, and to be told that their membership will be ratified, and to be told what the principles of the bloc will be. Putin gave an hour-and-a-half speech, and in it, some of the key points that will affect here. That is that these countries will implicitly trade with each other with their own currencies. They will bypass the petrodollar and the international currency. And Putin made it clear it's a direct attack on the dollar as the international currency. He made it clear.
Yep.
Now, one of the other things was that they are coming together in a bloc to demand fair treatment, the World Trade Organization, from the International Monetary Fund, and to get rid of the veto system, which is crippling the United Nations for doing anything about Israel.
Now, you talk about Putin. Putin actually stood there and gave a speech. And we'll reference this, right? You think to yourself that a lot of people in the world would be against Putin because of his action regarding Ukraine, right? To be honest with you, that's not the case. That isn't the case at all. You know, and I do wonder what reflection that has on the relations between these different countries.
I'm going to put this comment up before I tell you what else he was talking about. Nah, that ain't it.
Petro yuan. The Petro yuan. Yes, aye. War's coming.
You know what? I'm going to give you, because one of the other things again was that once this pact was up and running properly as a trade bloc, and they gathered strength, so maybe a decade down the line, as they trade with each other and their own currencies, bypassing the petrodollar, it will weaken the petrodollar, but as the international currency. But these nations will still trade out with that particular economic bloc as well. But as they get stronger in that bloc, they're talking about issuing gold standard currencies.
Yeah. The moment you issue a gold standard currency, you become automatically the enemy of every single country in the world that has a faux currency. Faux currencies have no value whatsoever, right? And what happens is if you issue a gold-backed currency, immediately those currencies become joke funds. They become something you get out of a monopoly game. Simple as that. End of story.
So I have to agree with you, class action, and David and I have spoken about this many times as we've watched the BRICS emerge. We've watched the expansion of the BRICS, and we have realised that the last 2 world wars started with trade wars.
Yep.
This one will not be any fucking different.
Yep.
And Trump's the world one that's just about to be unleashed, along with Putin coming to the other direction. And the idea that the two of them are actually in communication with each other and basically working together on a strategy that which will pull down the existing structures, you've got to wonder what sort of nightmare is going to come out the other side of these two fucking heats.
My goodness, when you talk about China alone, we were discussing that they own $8 trillion US in American debt.
Yes.
You know, and it's just unbelievable. It really is.
The war could be a wee bit further down the lines, folks, because as I say, or it could come quickly. Depends on what Trump does and how fast he does it, and how quickly the BRICS can establish themselves and start making undercurrents in the world. Because, as I say, they want the IMF to start treating everybody fairly, which doesn't sound outrageous. Because let's face it, the International Monetary Fund right now favours Western democracies and gives them better interest rates on their debts and things like that. Well, the World Trade Organization, who set tariffs between nations, are unfairly giving advantage to the West. That's why the BRICS are expanding to have a marketplace big enough to be able to say, "Oi, that's enough. Treat everybody fairly." Oh, and the other thing they're doing is they are launching a new payment system, which these 34 countries in the bloc will use. So they'll bypass the international banking trading system to trade with each other in their own currencies.
There's still massive holes in that, right?
Of course there is, David, but they'll work it out.
To be honest with you, they will. They'll work it out. That's it. And if asked, do I support BRICS, even though it includes Russia, right? Yes, I do.
The principles that Putin set out, actually, I would as well.
Yeah.
Dealing fairly with everybody under international humanitarian law and under international trade law. And watch the bloody speech.
Yeah.
You'd be convinced.
Yeah.
You know, he was talking about fairness for all the nations on the planet when it comes to trade. Because there isn't fairness at this point in time, there's a whole imbalance.
Yeah. What fly guys?
But there's war coming.
Yeah.
There's war coming. You can smell it. You can smell it, David.
Well,
of course, David,
war does not benefit banks, right? It's only when war benefits banks that it happens, in my own opinion, right? And I look at this and I think to myself, at what point would I see something against the bank? Well, the gold standard immediately.
There's 200 watching hours, there's 207 watching, 188 in YouTube. Brilliant. Audiences are growing. There seems to be a split between the Two Davies audience and the Indie Truck Davy audience, but the Two Davies audience is much better established and it's a longer program. It's a longer established program, so we generally get up near than 200 watching live. At the moment, between Facebook and YouTube, we'll get 209. The figures fluctuate. Right, but there is going to be a big upset coming to the world order, and generally that has led to war.
Yeah, that I must admit is where the gold standard is a thing that the banks would rail against. Of course they would.
I also think that Trump's going to rail against the fact that these nations are going to bypass his petrodollar when trading with each other.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Now, what was your question, chaps? Well, Neil, put your question back up again. I haven't seen it. The comments moved too fast. I did try and keep up with them, but it would be ignorant to be looking at the comments all the time instead of the screen. You guys. Right, now, they say the BRICS are going to cause chaos in the world, and so is Trump.
Yeah.
Now, they say, the way I see this is Trump's talking about no more wars. Putin's talking about fairness in the world. But I'm a wee bit worried about what these two nut jobs are going to create.
Trump's talking about no new wars.
No, I know that. No new wars. That's why. That's why I said Ukraine's fucked and Gaza's fucked. Never said anything about stopping the wars. I said no new wars.
Yeah.
You know, but as I say, there's chaos coming, folks. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
The BRICS mean business on trying to level up the world, in their view. Trump's about to undermine the world economy for the other side. Are these two working in tandem? Now, a lot of people will be saying, what the hell's the BRICS? Because they won't have been following this organisation for as long as you and I, David. The BRICS are halfway Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, which are huge economies which were being undermined by the West. And that's why the BRICS were formed. Now the BRICS is expanding. They're up to 10 right now, and they're expanding to 34 as of October next year. I can't remember what date Putin mentioned. But these associate members who were in Moscow on Tuesday to learn the rules and regulations which they'll be expected to operate this bloc under.
Well, you just consider in that where it originally takes name from, right? Yeah. 2 countries in there, China and India. Bugger me, that's a huge number of people.
It's about half the world population right there.
Yeah.
And that's the markets of the future.
Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't sell me in right now because I don't need fuck all.
Yeah.
Apart from maybe some front teeth, but that's cosmetic. Physically, I have no needs. Nutritionally, I have no needs. Medically, I have no needs. None that I'm aware of anyway. But these countries, they're the market of the future because these people have needs.
Yeah.
You know, they need clean water. They need a constant power supply. They need good education. They need good work. They need good places to live. There is room in the economies to grow. Their economies are flat. They're all flat. They need fuck off. Last thing I need is another TV or computer or car or house. You can only use one at a time. So there's not much you can sell me. You know, unless I want to renovate my kitchen or something like that. There's nothing you can sell me. I don't need nothing. And that's why your economies are done. And it's why we're also losing things like initiative and incentive. And why we're still being so bloody inventive. You know. Well, David, as you know, I've got work to go to in half an hour. My dinner's on the table. So it's time to round this one up. Folks, I hope you found this one interesting. I hope you found it informative. Now, if
just before I go, next Thursday, just a wee warning, next Thursday, I may not turn up because I've got house renovations going on concerning my present position. So it may well be that I don't get a chance to, all right? So sorry, please, David, carry on.
Right, you're always bucket. I don't get a chance to follow everything, but I try to follow as much as I can. And I'm aware of the World Economic Forum and what they want. Apart from depopulation, they want control. They want 15-minute lifestyle so that they can control the population, where it goes, how it goes, and what it does. Hi, Kevin. Now, folks, as I say, a lot of people won't be aware of the BRICS because our media never talk about them.
Yeah.
Search engine. Go have a look. And you need to look at the BRICS going forward.
This is your future. Look at it.
You need to know about the BRICS moving forward, folks.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed the show today, folks. I hope you found it interesting. I hope you found it informative. Unlike the young lady who left saying we're a pair of old duddery idiots whose opinions are as old as us. Of course they are. That's how we've gathered knowledge. We've observed this stuff down through the years. We've had time to research it. We've had time to see it in action and in motion. So I'm sorry if you don't like our opinions, but they're formed over many decades.
I don't have any problem with someone who goes, they're a pair of stupid old men.
There they are.
Carry on. Carry on.
Right, folks, thanks for your kind contribution to the food banks today. Massive amount this morning, reasonable amount this afternoon. It all counts and it feeds the people in our communities. And you guys are the stars for raising it.
Yeah.
David and I administer it. We throw a few shekels in the pot ourselves. But yous are the guys who do the work. Remember, there's a newspaper review, last one of the week, 10:30 tomorrow morning, with what? And then we'll be back on Monday to do this all again, covering basically what's happened over the weekend. Okay. I just leaves one thing left today, David. Oh, after show chat, 10 o'clock tonight, folks. Anybody's interested, Chuggy will drop a link into the YouTube comments.
And subscriptions. We need more subscriptions. We need people to subscribe to the channel, please.
Yep.
And if you like us, well, leave us a like and a like button.
And I hope you enjoyed the subjects we spoke about today. As I say, but when it comes to the BRICS, David, we'll leave it in that.
BRICS.
We'll find out what they are, folks, because this is the future.
Yeah.
Also, turmoil coming down the line with Trump for one side and Putin and the BRICS for the other. If you don't know about this stuff, time to get informed.
BRICS was still coming about, no matter who got the presidency.
Yes.
But with Trump, it becomes a wee bit more in your face, because if he creates a trade war with Europe and America is weakened by that, the BRICS organization will take that as an opportunity to go in and deliver the killer blow.
Aye. David, we'll need to leave it there because of time.
Yeah.
I have checked Buster for ticks, Jim. Aye, I have. Living where I live, that's the sort of thing you do regular with your dog is check for ticks. You know. Anyway, that just leaves one thing left today, David.
Bye, Dave.
Bye,
keep smiling, Buster. And bye, guys.